And WNST come to town. That sort of angers up my blood for the burgundy and gold. But meanwhile, the Orioles late into the night in the beautiful Southern California region of Anaheim and Disneyland. This guy's been covering the Angels as the beat writer at the OC Register. That's the Orange County Register. He is Jeff Fletcher, OCR, on Twitter, and chasing around the Angels, who, much like the Orioles, Jeff, believe they're in this thing, even though they're not a 500 team and haven't been one for quite some time, right?
Yeah, both teams are kind of on the fringes where, they need like about a 6-game winning streak to really consider themselves seriously in it. But I think they, obviously the Orioles picked up Jeremy Ellickson, and the Angels should have traded a bunch more guys than they did, and they sort of held on to them. So I think that they obviously feel like they got a shot.
Well, we had a prescription around here, right? I mean, Showalter and Duquette are done after the end of next year. Adam Jones is up. Machado will be up. Brock, Britton. This team has pitched as poorly as any team I've ever seen in my lifetime. I mean, it's very rare you're in August with guys with 8 ERAs still making starts, guys in the 6s and the 7s, but they whacked the ball around here, and they've been whacking the ball a little bit over the weekend against the Detroit Tigers, but in the modern era, everybody still thinks they're in it, whether they are or are not. Did you have some prescription for the Angels moving forward as to what they could have, should have done had they decided to fold up 10th this year?
Well, the Angels were in kind of an interesting situation as it came up to the trading deadline, because they didn't really have the assets to be buyers because their farm system is not very good. So they didn't have a lot of players they could give up to get like any impact players back. And they also didn't have a lot of assets to sell to get impact prospects back if they wanted to be sellers. So they sort of were stuck in the middle, where the best they could do is just kind of keep treading water and just sort of hope that they have a lot of guys who've been injured, and they're getting some of them back in this month. So maybe hoping that those are their acquisitions that can get them over the top. And worst case scenario, if they just keep in it and kind of stay contenders until the end, even if they don't make it, they feel like they could probably take the next step next year, because they are theoretically going to not have as many injuries next year as they've had this year.
Well, the crazy old man that owns the team here, I think it's his worst nightmare that Washington baseball ever existed, even though he cashed $1 billion check off of that. But it is his worst nightmare that the Washington Nationals are going to be playing in October, and the notion that you would fly a white flag, and they might win the World Series. Who knows? I know out in your part of the world, Artie Moreno has really gotten the leg up over the last decade and a half, and winning championships and having the best player in baseball and having him signed and going out and signing the likes of Pujols and Hamilton for to mixed reviews, I would say, at best. But the Dodgers are there, right? And I guess if you're the Angels, flying a white flag amidst the Dodgers playing 700 baseball, probably not a real good look down in Southern California, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the Angels do have the World Series advantage on them for the last 25 years or so, 1-0. So for whatever that's worth.
I still remember Kirk Gibson, but that it's getting a little old for all of us now, right?
That was a long time ago. Yes. The Angels and Dodgers have kind of an interesting relationship. I don't know that there seems like there's a lot of Dodger fans and there's some smaller group of Angels fans, and I don't know that those numbers really change a whole lot. So I don't know if the Angels all of a sudden were great and the Dodgers slumped, if people would suddenly become more interested in the Angels. And I don't know that Angels fans necessarily are going to go pay more attention to the Dodgers when the Dodgers are having a year like this. I think they're kind of fixed numbers. It probably goes about 70-30 Dodgers just in all of Southern California. The Angels fans are mostly concentrated in Orange County. And so I don't know that you really feel that much direct competition on a season-to-season basis of how well you do, but certainly you don't want to just drop off the baseball map and be finishing in last place. Regardless of whether the Dodgers are here, I don't think that Artie Moreno feels that he could do that in this size of market, to just go and be a rebuilding team and just tank, like we saw the Astros do and the Cubs do. I just don't think he wants to do that. And he certainly can't do that while he's got Mike Trout. So I think they're going to try to tread water as best they can, and next year they're not going to be paying Josh Hamilton anymore, so they feel like they could probably make some moves then.
Jeff, you talk about Mike Trout, and we have the Machado situation around here, and I guess the textbook is give him $35 million a year for a couple of years, give him $100 million to keep him around. We have that situation perhaps now with Jonathan Scope, where if you're not going to get him now, you're not going to get him at a discount, and Machado is now playing out the last 700, 800 at-bats of his career as an Oriole before he would hit free agency. The Angels in getting Trout done, I know there was a lot of pressure on that, but certainly as a generational ball player, not the kind of guy you want to leave out the side door. And I think Orioles fans and Nationals fans with Bryce Harper, and I guess we'll go through that in a lot of different places with the Arenados and any other number of young players, because there are so many of them. But, boy, the Angels got a leg up on that. I mean, you can criticize them one way or another, but they got that done, and they kept him around. And that is, you're never in rebuilding mode when you have the best player in baseball, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there was no question that they wanted to sign him, and they got sort of a good compromise where they got his first 3 years of free agency, and so that gives them more than they would have had, otherwise. But it also still allows him to be a free agent, I believe, at like 29. So that's a pretty good deal for him too, because he can go make another huge truckload of money in a few more years. So kind of everybody gets what they want. It's going to be real interesting to see. Right now, I mean, there's no serious consideration of either trading him or signing him to an extension, just because there's 3 years and 2 months left. But about 2 years from now, it might be real interesting to see if the Angels aren't where they want to be, where they go, because then the question really has to be, can you sign him to an extension? And if not, should you trade him? So that's going to be a real interesting question a couple of years from now. Right now, they're not quite there.
It's a weird mirror between these two teams, having sort of similar records and where they are at this point. And, I guess, and signing, big Chris Davis got the same kind of sort of deal that Pujols got, and we're going to be scratching our heads over the next couple of years and saying, is he going to be worth it? Is he going to play to that level? I know Pujols has slumped a little bit, but I don't know where that franchise would be without him, right? I mean, that would be a lot of money that maybe could have been earmarked elsewhere, but both of these teams have minor league issues that sort of lie beyond anything going on at the big leagues, is that there's not a whole lot of help on the way in either one of these organizations, according to Baseball America.
Yeah, that's definitely true in the Angels' case. They are getting better just because they were the worst in baseball, so you can only get better from there. But I think what they're really trying to do now is just hold everybody, and just the farm system is kind of like a plant. You just need to let it grow and not be trimming it all the time. And I think that's what they've tried to do. The last couple of years, they have, they traded Sean Newcomb to get Andrelton Simmons, who was at the time like one of their only really premium prospects. And Newcomb has made the big leagues with the Braves, and he looks like he's going to be pretty good, but Andrelton Simmons has been great. So that trade looks okay. But since then, they really haven't traded anybody good from their farm system. They're kind of hanging on to him. So I think that's just what they're going to try to do. They're just going to sort of let it sit and ferment and grow for a year or two, and then see where they are. Hopefully they'll get it to the point where they've got not just some minor leaguers that are coming up and producing at the major league level, but some guys that you can trade to add to your major league team without gutting the whole farm system. So it's going to take them a little time to get there, but they're moving in that direction.
He is Jeff Fletcher. He covers all things Angels out in Los Angeles and in Anaheim, where the rock pile will be the home of the Orioles for the next couple of nights. He is Jeff Fletcher, OCR, at the Orange County Register. You can follow him out on Twitter as well as at ocregister.com for all the Angels stuff. And, for Artie Moreno and what he's done there with that franchise, and we talk about the Dodgers and their surge and all that, boy, the Angels have been a growth franchise, and Rally Monkeys and Mike Socha. I mean, there's been plenty of sort of joy going on there. What's the stadium situation there? I mean, it seems to me from a revenue basis, and I know the Dodgers games aren't even on television out there, which is of great consternation for everybody out there. But, revenue-wise and where they are and spending for big players, he's never shied away from that. But that being said, they have been a little bit stuck in the mud since DePoto left. They had a major power struggle around there 2 years ago, didn't they?
Yeah, basically Jerry DePoto and Mike Socha didn't really get along very well, so DePoto quit. And that's pretty much the simple way to put it. And since then, they've also, shortly before that happened, Artie Moreno decided to spend a whole bunch of money on Josh Hamilton, which didn't work. So already then got sort of gun-shy about any major deals. And so even though the Angels do have money, they draw 3 million fans, they have a pretty good TV contract. They're not a small market team, but they still have sort of, since the Josh Hamilton thing, wanted to be very cautious about dipping into the big money guys because they just don't want to get stuck with another deal where they're paying somebody who's, as it is, they're going to still be paying Albert Pujols 4 more years, and he's not even close to contributing the amount on the field that his salary would dictate. And to take on another guy who might be in that situation is just something that they're really being very cautious about. So they haven't really spent hardly anything the last really 4 years. I think the most money they've given to any single free agent was Joe Smith. It was $15 million. So that tells you kind of where they are. But this coming winter, I think it could change because, like I said, Hamilton is going to be off the books. They're going to have a little more flexibility. I don't expect them to go and spend $180 million on anybody, but certainly the $70 to $100 million type player might be back on their radar.
It's interesting. You use the word caution, right? And I would say it's a cautionary tale, the whole Albert Pujols thing, I should say. Luis Pujols. I'm dating myself now. But I was out in St. Louis when they were trying to keep Pujols there, and the fans were the Ravens were playing the Rams, who are now gone, who are now your team, of course, out your way. But I remember how much angst there was amongst the Cardinals fans. And for all of these big contracts, and, we're there with Machado a year and a half from now as to who to spend the money on, where to spend the money. The Pujols thing is something that I think a lot of teams do look at, and they pitch that to their fan base and saying, well, we don't want to do that, right? And that's kind of unfortunate. I mean, he's a pretty special player, but I guess the ledge for all position players, and I think we saw that last week at the trading deadline, there's a whole different value now on relief pitching and pitching in general versus anybody that hits 40 home runs. I mean, Pedro Alvarez could hit 30 home runs in the big leagues this year. Nobody wanted him on a roster because they don't want the strikeouts. They don't want the defensive liabilities. I think the way sabermetricians have looked at the game, it has devalued sluggers a little bit to some degree because there's so many of them, and strikeouts are now sort of a welcomed addition to Major League Baseball somehow.
I don't know about all that. I think that the Pujols case is more about just age, and I think that we forgot for a lot of years because of the steroid era at what age players were supposed to get too old, because a lot of guys all of a sudden were still good at 38, 39, 40 years old, and we sort of got in our heads that that's the way it was supposed to be. But really, that's not the way it's supposed to be. When you get to be 34, 35, you're going to start to lose it a little bit. So, and Albert Pujols is 37, and he's looks like a 37-year-old. He's probably supposed to look. He's can't run very much. He can't run at all. He doesn't play the field hardly ever. He gets lots of little injuries. He goes into slumps. He's just a 37-year-old guy out there trying to play Major League Baseball, and they're paying him $30+ million, which is not a great combination. So I don't think that any team now going forward is really going to want to get into that situation. Now, I think that the Angels knew when they signed him that the end of this deal was not going to work out for them. But the way they probably looked at it was, well, if we can in his first 5 years win the World Series, we'll just eat the rest of it. And not that they would release him and eat it, but they'll just kind of wear it, the fact that they're going to be overpaying him. But that it didn't happen. So they didn't win the World Series when he was still being, pretty productive. And now they're still stuck with him for these remaining years of who knows what he's going to do. So anyway, I think you look around baseball, and teams just aren't going to want to get into that kind of situation. And if you've got guys who are sort of single-dimensional, you're really not going to want to get involved with them for a whole lot of money as they get older. So I think that's what you're seeing with the market.
I tell you what, man, I've been watching baseball a long time, and I know there's a lot of history between the Orioles and the Angels. I mean, going back to Bobby Grich and DeCinces and the Reggie Jackson deal, and obviously on Monday morning, an incredible loss, really for both organizations, but a guy that was an Angel, right? And Don Baylor, who was traded away by the Orioles many, many moons ago, and wound up in Anaheim and wound up managing. And the Angels really claim him more to their own than, let's say, the Rockies or even the Orioles or other places where he had worked at various points. Huge loss. I guess a lot of friends out there, a lot of people in the organization, a lot of people, including communications director that's been there for 3 decades, that Don Baylor touched a lot of people in Anaheim.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting that he played, just looking at stats now, it looks like the first 12 years of his career were with the Orioles and Angels, and he dies on a day the Orioles are playing the Angels.
It's crazy,
so
isn't
that's kind of a crazy thing. He certainly probably meant a little more to the Angels, like you said, than the Orioles, because he won an MVP and took them to the playoffs. And, it was the first Angels team that was really good, as opposed to the Orioles, who had much better history. And
they were the team trying to beat up on the Orioles in 79.
Yeah. His last job in baseball was the Angels hitting coach just up until 2 years ago. So it definitely means a lot to people out here, but he touched a lot of teams. I believe he wore 14 different uniforms as a player, coach, or manager. So all over baseball right now, there's lots of people that are missing him. But he had a great career and was a really great guy.
Fletch, I appreciate you taking a little time and coming on here previewing the Angels. You get the good fortune of watching Mike Trout play every day. So we here in Baltimore only get to see him a couple times a year, so we'll be up late this week watching him. And it's as good as it gets, right? Machado was hitting 210 a couple of weeks ago. He's hitting 257 now. He's sort of gotten himself out of this. Trout, Harper struggled last year. Trout has made this thing look kind of easy, hasn't he?
I think what's most incredible about Mike Trout is there's lots of great players that have single years that are like Mike Trout's, but the difference is then they also will have a bad year or an average year, and Mike Trout never does. He just has the same year every year, and it's like, I think I looked it up when the Angels played the Nationals a couple weeks ago. I did a Mike Trout, Bryce Harper thing, and I looked up that Bryce Harper's best year is about the same as Mike Trout's worst year, and I think it's just ridiculous how good and how consistent he is, and that he never has that sort of clunker year that lots of great players have, and nobody holds it against them because it's just like, oh, well, that was 1 year and they'll be right back. But he just doesn't have that year. It's amazing to watch him all the time.
Well, and I would say on top of that, this might be the best year. He's becoming a better hitter statistically and average-wise, right? Than he might still be an ascending player, which is kind of crazy, right?
Well, he's 26 years old as of this week, and that's usually when you're 27 is when you start to get your peak, is what everybody says. So who knows where he's going to go? I really find it hard to believe he can get much better than he is, but it's amazing. He just still keeps doing things, and the average goes up, strikeouts go down. He just finds a way to keep maintaining a ridiculously high level.
Great having you on, Jeff. Go cover him. Go stay up late. We'll be watching from Anaheim. He is Jeff Fletcher, OCR, out on Twitter as well as at the OC Register. Appreciate the time as always. Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you.
You got it. Southern California's finest there, covering the Angels. Jeff Fletcher, Angels beat writer at the Southern California News Group and the Orange County Register. You can find me out in the Bay at Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from wherever you happen to be. Our morning newspaper comes to your email inbox every single morning at 7 a.m. That happens digitally. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. There's one right in your neighborhood. It's always $10 a month, and it's a great solution to getting yourself in the best shape of your life at Planet Fitness. You can learn more at planetoftriumphs.com as well. Last but never least, if there's any breaking news, and it always seems to be bad news this time of the year out in Owings Mills, Luke's on that. It is our WNST text service. No rumors, no fake news, no spam, just breaking news. You always get it first. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis Colatzos will be here on Thursday, driving you home from 3 until 5. It is the SSV on WNST. As for me, nasty at WNST.net reaches me. I'm getting a bunch of email on the London trip. We are throwing a party on Saturday in London. I'll get you the details on that. It's going to be kind of special. It's going to be a different kind of thing. I hope that you do leave Saturday afternoon free for us and come join us with our group. We have a hearty bunch of souls headed over to London. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. I'm Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.